welcome to another episode of Simon Says, and joining me here is Lyra.
Hello.
And we're back again talking about the local development. And I mean, we kind of like the last two episodes talking about we're in the general election cycle. So many legislative houses.
Yes.
The states one are kind of, I think in West Malaysia, their term are coming to an end. And then, of course, by the end of this year, the federal side will have to call election. Sarawak, I think, had to call earlier.
Yes.
So all this kind of thing. So I know last episode we kind of talk about certain things that we saw in the news, but remember I was just telling you, let's just read some news and see how we can react. But I just felt like everything that is being said, it's kind of like stale. There's nothing new, and the usual message, right? People are not happy with PMS, and people are still talking about the green wave, still talking about the Malay supremacy and things like that. So do you get that kind of feeling when you read the news cycle and the opinion pieces?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, there's only so much that you can continuously talk about race and whichever other thing. It's almost like, I mean, earlier on you were just saying that there is no more surprises that we can see in or exciting news that we can actually see in Malaysia political scene. But not that we are like asking for drama. It's just that I guess people are like so muted or so desensitized towards this whole race card thingy that they just like, okay, I mean, that's just how it is. But it's almost like no one is putting the pedal to the metal to really like just get things running. I mean, because like you see what is happening with the US and Iran deal that's coming to almost like an agreement. But the thing is, with Malaysia, there is almost like we just keep, the politicians are just keep making excuses after excuses.
Yeah, and really, I mean, some of the things we've been talking about, the whole economic structure, the whole patronage structure, and a lot of socialist policies. And when we are still kind of have reasonable economic productions, reasonable income gap, etc., we are not doing things to develop the economy. So the Hormuz blockade is one of the first tests. And I kind of remember somebody from, I can't remember, is he a deputy minister, went to Keluar Sekejap, right? And it's like so ridiculous, right, what he say. And because I think KJ was asking, like you tell us, if the straits not open, how long the crude oil can last. Then he say something like, I guarantee you it'll be enough until the end of July. Say it like so in such a triumphant sound. I'm like, until July, is that something even to boast about? That's like so pathetic, right? That I mean, we are like kind of like in this turmoil, and that's the best you can give us. And a lot of people are kind of like, I mean, we talked about that many episodes ago. People are surprised. Supposed to be a net producer, right? But now we found out we're not crude oil net producer. But let's kind of talk about the election cycle again. Now, of course, we kind of say that a few times already. Not here to tell you what to vote, but I think maybe we can kind of outline some of the options, because I mean, obviously we are Pakatan Harapan voter, and the Madani situation is not ideal. So later we'll talk about Madani in a while. But what kind of options you have? I mean, you have, of course, you can go back to Barisan Nasional, one of the party. I don't know if they will even come out together, or do you think UMNO is playing a solo game?
That's difficult to tell. I mean,
but they need non-Malay bloc, right? To kind of at least present themselves like a legitimate option. So they will want MCA, MIC to come in.
Do you reckon? Do you reckon it will be like UMNO DAP sort of situation?
You mean together?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's like so many things hinge on the Johor election, right? So if they do badly, and there was some rumor that the Attorney General Office is trying to revive the charge against Zahid. I don't know. I mean, if that's really Anwar's end game, then he's not a very smart politician, if he's thinking of threatening Zahid at this stage. So, but of course, even within UMNO, I mean, did you get the impression that maybe, some people are saying, like Akmal, being the wild dog is actually sanctioned by Zahid, but there are others who say that UMNO is a very fractured and everyone is trying to kind of get more power because Zahid is in a very compromised situation. So what do you feel as an outsider? Is it a real fracture or is it a manufactured fracture?
Wow. I mean, UMNO has been... They are very, very experienced, skilled politicians.
They are.
So perhaps it's just pulling a card out of their playbook and really just make it seem like, hey, there's a bit of a problem here, but maybe they are in it for actually a huge victory. It's difficult to say.
Yeah, and you see the oldies are coming back. I'm talking about those who used to be in Najib's camp. But I do feel like Zahid doesn't want Najib camp to be successful because it was threatening him. So to say that they are all peaceful and coexisting, I think is maybe not true also. But what is the level of conflict, I think? So I guess we have to wait for Johor election to come out. And so then of course then you have all the fear mongering coming out now, say that the Malay conservative were all. I mean, when it comes to the Malay vote, I really hear many different potential kind of formula, right? People will be saying that, they will rally around PAS, the green wave. And partly it's also because of the way the boundaries are drawn, where the Malay majority, you just need less people. So why the northern seats are more valuable? Because this is what Barisan Nasional had done. Because they were their stronghold, Selangor, Johor, they were always doing very well. But up north, Mahathir, Anwar, they all came from up north. So they had no problem securing a very strong mandate, and PAS is left to the East Coast. But now PAS is dominating Kedah and making inroad in Perak and even making inroad in Selangor and things like that. So do you have any kind of feel regarding the Malay vote? Are they kind of like, or do you think the next few state election in I think Johor first, then Negeri Sembilan, maybe Melaka? I think Selangor will definitely go with federal.
Yeah, I actually feel it is a legitimate concern. As in, I mean, not saying that the green wave is something that is very... Well, I guess the stats is... I mean, especially concerning youth vote, being influenced, with this whole more conservative movement and things like that. I feel there is certain legitimacy to it, but then there is also the part where you have like a lot of anti-colonialism that came out. So I guess it's like that part is a bit of a wild card in this whole thing.
Very interesting you mentioned that, because now I don't want to kind of mix this anti-colonialism with youth, but the trend worldwide is basically that the youth movement are more ideological.
Correct.
And they are always more ideological until they get married, have kids and things like that. So this is a trend all around the world. So they are more into revolution kind of thing. So do you feel there is that kind of feeling that their needs are not being met, so we might as well go for a more radical approach?
Correct. I think I think if given the opportunity, they will want something like maybe something like French Revolution would be more appealing to the people.
And that's what the socialists in Iran did, when they kind of team up with the Islamists. They thought they are taking down imperialists, a Western puppet. But who knows, it became what it was. And remember, all the leftists, the communists in Iran all were wiped out very quickly after the supreme leader took control. So I think for the young voter, you have to think very carefully that every time you go into something that is driven by a religious committee, and in fact, something like China CCP is also kind of very similar kind of ideology, when you're controlled by ideologue, then you get into a space where there's no way to reverse out.
Correct. I mean, I think the more you try to be more isolationist, in the sense that you're thinking that maybe you're just protecting your rights and things like that by actually appealing to, and even maybe you think it's a legitimate compromise in the sense that, hey, I mean, we don't mind working with the more conservative people, and at least we will know what their religious values are and things like that. But yes, you get an Iran. But you look at the curtain wall, the Iron Curtain Wall. Once it fell, I mean, Russian is the second most spoken language out there is. And so it's like, I guess people need to begin to think, do you want a culture that is progressive and at the same time, when there are certain things that needed to be conserved, you are also conservative in that sense. But or do you actually just want a pure socialism sort of a situation in Malaysia? And then you begin to see, like, you see so many nations in the Europe, they are having their downfall because they embrace socialism. And had it not been for their glorious days, I think they would be bankrupt even sooner. So I think that sort of thing is, I guess it's not easy to say.
Yeah, I think not easy, and a lot hinge on the result, right? So one last part before we move on to the second point is, I mean, the last couple of years, I mean, before general election, I've been telling people I don't believe, PAS will win enough to become prime minister. But of course, given the situation now, let's say they get anything from 60 to 70 seat. Do you foresee GPS and GRS form government with them, with a prime minister from PAS?
Wow.
Would that? I used to say very confidently, I don't think it will fly with the Borneo states, but now I'm not so confident.
Yeah, and maybe if they also offer something like a deputy prime ministership to the Borneo states, maybe they might be doing that because it protects their interests anyway. So I feel like there is that sort of, I mean,
the possibility.
Correct. So because, I mean, you look at what Madani is offering, and then if people continue on with that, it may seem like PAS is not so religious as you think it is, or not so theocratic as you think it is, because they are more willing, more open, seemingly more open to protect the rights of those from Borneo and things like that. So they might even be seen as someone who is like advocating for, well, we just want like a very conservative values in all around the nation. Then before long, you maybe you see an Iran sort of situation. But it is not unthinkable. I mean, now, if the Borneo states are to actually work together with PAS to form,
I mean, they have formed together before, but of course under the leadership of UMNO. And so that's my main concern with GPS, for example, that for all they say about, we are not about Malay supremacy, or we don't have an official religion and things like that. You can just see them doing this kind of thing, and I would say I would say they should think very carefully, because once you do that, you open the nation to, because people have to understand what PAS represent. You cannot isolate what they represent with their promises. They can say, oh, everything. This is the party that wants to legislate religious justice system at the federal level. So, yeah, I mean,
correct. I mean, have you heard some people? This is a bit sidetracked, but I feel like it's parallel. Have you heard certain arguments about how US shouldn't even have ceasefire with the Iranian regime, because you give them an inch, they will take hundreds of miles, just because of like they think, oh, okay, maybe you're a little bit weak, and maybe you're not like because I mean, there has always been sanction against the Iranian economy, so that's not like scaring them. But until the time where they actually were being shown to be very, very weak, like how Trump was making the announcement where, hey, actually we have been like shipping hundred millions of barrels out of oil out of Iran, and it's like under their nose all this while, but they are like completely unaware of this whole thing. That just shows that they are completely weak. So until such a time, then only then you begin to hear, okay, we're more prepared to make a deal. So until you are actually, because what hurts them the most is actually their concern with this whole like stalemate situation, the blockade situation, that their Iranian regime will actually be toppled by the civil unrest. So I think that part is the one that scares them the most. So I don't know. I mean, in Malaysia, if you have like a similar situation, it could also be that because like they can play to the religious playbook and things like that and appear to be so harmonious until such a time you begin to actually reap the sort of seeds of really actually what they are really after, you know?
Yeah, and remember when we covered the episodes, Sister in Islam, of course, they changed their name already. And the founders, they were all of the opinion that the one who really weaponized religion was Barisan Nasional. But I will also make the argument that UMNO and PAS are fundamentally different. One use religion as a tool, the other one really will go and implement what they want. So do we want to, fool around and see what's the results, or can people see the consequence? But anyway, that's one of the main concern. Now, one last point. Actually, this point one is kind of like maybe taking two points time slot, and we kind of talk about the example of Starmer, right? So Prime Minister Starmer in United Kingdom, possibly one of the most unpopular prime minister in modern time, who also won with the biggest landslide, and mainly because the Tories, who got fed up with the successive Tories prime minister who did crap, decided not to come out and vote. So this leads to the point about Madani, okay? And I think we talk about this and we do a short Madani report card and we can call it a day, okay? So let's talk about the Madani vote. People call it, I guess it's not correct to call it vote suppression. Vote suppression is when certain things are done to discourage voting, but this is more like a self-determined boycott. and you are hearing some people are saying that, right? I'm so disappointed I don't want to vote. I'm sure you have heard people say that. So do we? Okay, so my question to you is: do you think Malaysia need to go through a Starmer?
Wow. It's hard to say, but I definitely don't hope that, but it looks like we are headed towards that direction.
You don't even need a lot. You think about 10%, 15% swing, and the last general election there was so much effort to make people coming back. And this time, look at the world economic situation, look at the fuel price, and people will be just like, oh, it's not worth spending a few thousand because it counts for nothing. So you just kind of build out that vote, and the margin is gone. So do you say? I definitely believe. I think anyone who is listening to this, you should definitely vote. Even if you are not sure who to vote, you should still vote. So, but if you don't vote, that means you are relinquishing your participation, and later you can't complain when the nations go down the drain.
Yeah, it definitely is something sobering to think about. But then again, the sort of situation also paves the way for the Reform Party to gain in popularity. So I guess it's like kind of like sometimes it can almost be like a bit of a parallel.
Yeah, you look at even look at US and with the MAGA movement, they've been doing very well the last 10 years. But look at the blocks that are being made by the Senate, especially. Senate are full of dinosaurs, okay? And so many senators have been primary out, but some are still holding on. And it's almost like some of them really want to, they want to kind of, they want to spit on the president, even if it costs the Democrat to win the House. So you get that kind of feeling. And so I guess, you have such a tremendous movement and advancement there, you still see this kind of problem. So here, and now you can see people kind of talk about the context of even Rafizi Bersama coming out, and immediately you can see from the Pakatan Harapan gang. Rafizi is trying to be a spoiler and things like that. Actually, every time you have some initiative or third force, people say you're a spoiler, right? But of course, Rafizi Bersama is a threat because of where they can place their I mean, if they place it in the strategy, typically kind of like, I mean, you don't really have, I mean, that's why even PKR own internal document that was leaked out a few weeks ago kind of pointed very little extremely safe seat. Right? I mean, actually, you see in Australia election, you see in UK election, some supposedly very safe seats, and people can just turn and they lose, you know. So you think about like Pandang, you think about what's some of the KL seats that you think is super safe. I mean, don't talk about the DAP, Uber Chinese majority. Those are not that many, right? So I mean that's why Bersama is considered a threat because they can. Now, what do you think of the statement, right? Because Johor election was the kind of first bellwether test for them, and Amana was kind of say, do you want to work together? And they say no. But it doesn't mean that they won't work together in general election.
Yeah, I mean, I guess everyone is like just kind of like testing it out because it's still too early to say how it's gonna be like. So maybe it's just a litmus test in Johor, like it was earlier on, I think.
Do you get a feel like Rafizi and Anwar, who is the one that is more uncompromising in terms of, because I mean obviously the relationship had broken down, and it's like, do you get any feel like PMS just doesn't care because he think he has a number, or Rafizi is like beyond worth caring already? I mean, kind of hard to say, right?
Hard to say. But
if
Rafizi hasn't been doing well either.
True. Or maybe the third possibility, PMS doesn't deem him a threat. Because I mean, if I am PMS, I do not want this kind of fracture. I will find some kind of deal. That's a no-brainer. And if they can win a couple of seats, then so be it. We can have a deal. But why do you want to kind of like reduce each other's potential win, and you're just going to give UMNO and you're going to give PAS and Bersatu all those cohorts?
Yeah, I mean exactly, because you have like a certain. I mean, even in the UK, right? I think in the last episode, perhaps we talk about it. I mean, even the former UK Prime Minister Blair was urging Starmer to like mend ties with Trump and things like that. I mean, it's like I think he also couldn't stand it. So I think, but I guess for him, it's more like I don't want any other populist uprising in the nation. I mean, I would rather like work with a more
I mean, to be fair, Blair is not like wokies,
Yeah, correct. But
Yeah.
but he's also not so. I guess he also opened up the floodgate
Definitely
to a lot of issues as well.
In fact, what's happening in UK now with the Supreme Court? I mean, they call the highest court Supreme Court now. All these are the reform he made during his two or three terms. I can't remember. So he did many institutional change that causes the Starmer situation. So he is responsible
Yeah.
by a long shot. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess like with PMX, I think he should also begin to like what do you say? Like begin to just really consider. I mean, those fractions can eventually cause the whole coalition to just fall apart.
Okay, so to end our today one, I kind of want to talk about two things here, right? So the first thing is, I mean, we kind of talk about this on and off, but what's your report card for Madani, okay? So when I say report card, maybe just 2 or 3 lines to summarize what you feel about them and give a score out of 10. And then talk about their chance. I mean, I know we talk about their chance already and things like that, but just at this stage, what do you feel? Okay, so
Well, I guess the report card concerning perhaps the civil servant, I think he's definitely, I suppose, popular among the civil servants. So maybe on that note, maybe the civil servants are gonna give him a 9 out of 10. Whereas for us who think that we should have a small government, I think that's 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10. Wow.
I mean, you can call me a critic, but I feel like I think we need to learn to pay the price for a certain reform that we actually need in this nation, and we already know that the civil servant is one of the most bloated there is. I mean, not to say that we are unappreciative of some of these. I mean, you definitely need the ministry, but the thing is, do you need that many ministries? So I think we should play a trump card in this sense, in the sense that for every policies that you're gonna make, you have to take out 2 redundant policies. So I think with that regards, I mean, there's so much to learn from the US administration, and yet we are so busy criticizing other nations. So then secondly, the foreign policy, I think I'll give you a 0 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, so you kind of split it to, yeah, I mean, that's kind of harsh, but I tend to agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I totally can't, because I was reading what the U.S. Secretary Treasury Scott Bessent, he was just saying about the Iranian regime. He said basically, I mean, as soon as Trump mentioned about the news where like actually they are shipping out 100 millions of barrels of oil, and then he was just basically posting it in his X account. He said the Iranian regime will lose the zero-sum game it is playing. So you kind of need to like give a bit of warning to the people. And he said any damage it inflicts on our allies in the Gulf will be paid for with the funds extracted from the Iranian accounts. Then I begin to just see, okay, what do people actually think about all this thing? And then a lot of so-called supporters of the Iranian regime, and even maybe with the Iranian revolution that they hope to see, they're basically, how can you do that with our money? I mean, as Malaysian, I can also say that to our government. How can you do that with our money? Like people are paying so much tax and we are not seeing a lot of benefit in the nation, and yet you still want to push for socialist agenda. I mean, so if you want to push for socialist agenda, you just do it well. Like seriously, I mean, if you want to do it super well, that there's no complaint. But if you're like half-hearted here, half-hearted there, then there's a lot of U-turn in the policy. So it's not really. It doesn't sit well with the current PMX administration, because it would seem like you are very indecisive, and maybe you have a whole lot of weak counsel that is actually advising you with regards to what to do, and every time you go on a whim and just complaining about some of the things that US administration is doing, but look at what our current government is doing. I mean, you're not really doing anything. So I think if you want to be socialist, just be super socialist. I think no one is going to complain.
Yeah, I think that's one of the trick, I guess, that Mahathir managed to pull, that he managed to convince everyone that we're doing well.
Yeah.
And of course the economic growth was great. So very interesting. Your marking comes from the civil service and also foreign policy. So I think for me, then I'll focus on something else, which will be the satisfactions of different voters block. So we know the Madani, you had the main Pakatan Harapan vote, then they needed GPS, you had GRS, and then you have UMNO. And of course, in the beginning, we kind of like, why is PMS going for all the small parties? Because so now we know, towards the end of this administration, we know he was always fearful that UMNO or GPS might stab him. So he needed some insurance, okay? So okay, you get all these things. So what is the value of money for everyone's contribution? And I still remember, like, Larry Sun was like having his own party, and he gave his one vote to PMS, and he was hoping for a deputy minister, but in the end he just got a GLC position, right? So I'll say from Pakatan Harapan supporter point of view, the mark will be 1 out of 10. We didn't get what we want. And yeah, you can say about some of the, they talk about the AG change, the law and things like that. But then you look at so many selective prosecution. You look at how Inland Revenue and companies commission on Malaysia, all these are just generally not making us a very business friendly place. So from that point of view, then of course just very basic kind of things that we talk about. You know, can you manage the ratio kind of thing? You can't. But of course, I do understand where it is coming from, because definitely UMNO is the one kind of like kept burning behind the scene. But if you cannot even get your coalition partner to behave, then I guess I mean, and some more, UMNO was given so much position in so many ministers. I mean, it's disproportionate to their representative.
Yep.
So if and someone Zahid could get his DNA. So with this kind of thing, you should just tell them, this is what I offer you. You better shut up and behave. If you can't, I'm going to sack half of your deputy minister. So to me, PMS just doesn't show this kind of leadership, and he's paying the price now. So at the moment, I just cannot see how how I don't want to say Madani. I don't know what is the next government, probably some kind of unity government again, but it will not be driven by Pakatan Harapan, I think, because of all the various factors.
Yeah. It's kind of sad.
But I remember 6 months before the last GE, Pakatan Harapan was also dead and buried.
Legit.
So
Never say never too early.
don't count the chicken before the hatch.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we kind of we did cover 3 points, even though 1 point we didn't cover. So anyway, maybe next week when we come back, just hope there's a bit more interesting development. Nobody has a very creative and uplifting solution how to do with this. And more I'm seeing like a lot of non-Malay is just like, you know, don't talk about racial kind of thing. Just accept the fact. We are all like getting less and less. But I just felt like that's such a defeatist kind of mindset. I mean, it's not about majority or minority. It's not about, because that will be the tyranny of majority. We don't want that. But is there anyone having the courage to come out and say we want a different formula? You know, we say in the past, the Borneo blocks have the ability, but they are not doing that because they are too selfish. They're just looking after their own interests. And let's not forget, these are the remnant of Thai Mamu, okay? Never trust them anyway. So I think the voters in Sarawak need to be reminded. Eventually, you need to get rid of GPS if you want to have a more... I mean, some of the Sarawakian voter, I mean, we're both from there, and they will say, hey, everything is well, ma, we get free education and things like that. You can agree with that, but long term, these are the people who have been stealing from you. How well could they be? So, but anyway, that's another topic for another day. So, okay, so let's come back next week and hopefully something more interesting to say.
Sure.
Okay, bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.